This is Pastor Tony Fryer with more spiritual food for faith. In Lamentations chapter 3, verses 21 through 24, Jeremiah says, "Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed." Jeremiah walks through a devastating Jerusalem. The city is in ruins. He sees Jerusalem in turmoil. Homeless people are in the streets. The temple is destroyed. The king's palace is in shambles. And again, the city is in ruins. It's a dramatic contrast from the hustle and bustle once seen in the city. The title of the book, Lamentation, means a passionate expression of sorrow or weeping. And the book of Lamentations is just that. Jeremiah prophesied about this, but he didn't know it would look like this. He knows what he said, but he didn't visualize this. God sent Jesus Christ to die on the cross for our sins, so God, lamented about our eternal destiny. God raised Jesus Christ from the dead so the lamenting would end. In Lamentations chapter 2, verse 11 and 12, Jeremiah says his eyes fell because of the tears. The tears were making his vision blurry. He also says his spirit was troubled as his heart is poured out. In our text, he realizes that it is of the Lord's great love that we are not consumed. He's been walking around crying about Jerusalem being reduced to rubble. Then he has this revelation that it could be much worse. He realizes the Babylonians who destroyed Jerusalem and the walls did not have a moment of compassion and sympathy in the middle of their rage and destruction. So he realizes it is of God's great love that we are not consumed, that our enemies and their enemies would love to chew them up alive. He realizes that the prophecy and what he sees is the act of God's discipline and God's love toward the Israelites. Life seems hard. Some people want to think about the good old days, but some people never had good old days. It's always been hard. It's always been tough. The city of God is in ruins. The temple is destroyed. The king's palace is in shambles. The gates are burned down. And the walls are torn apart with holes. The Babylonians have ransacked the holy city. But God kept them, the Babylonians, from utterly destroying the city and the people of God. Once the homeless people moved into the city hall and the square, the Babylonians could have come in and massacred them. Jeremiah figures out God kept their enemy and my enemy and your enemy from completely having their way. They did not have a flash of love. It was God's grace. God intervened. And that's why the people of God need to always see and find reasons to thank God despite the problems that we have. Because it is of God's great love that we are not consumed. Great is his faithfulness. The book of Lamentations is written in 3 parts. The first part names our losses. The second part laments our losses. And the third part laments our losses, apologizes to what we have done and why these things have happened to us, and then asks God to restore and bless us again, thanking him for his great love and his great mercy that our enemy did not consume us. This is Pastor Tony Fryer with more spiritual food for